public speaking skill is of utmost importance to both students and employees in many domains. And it seems that the skill has the potential to become even more significant in the future. Over a decade ago, I started research about the public speaking skill. I examined the history of public speaking from ancient Greece to the present day. I looked for teaching programs of the subject and found a lot of information, mainly on issues related to content planning and organization. I took techniques that help to convey an oral message from the informal education framework, youth movement, tour guides. The field of marketing and advertising helped with ideas for message building, and the field of psychology has contributed in understanding of public speaking anxiety and ways for raising self-confidence, especially for our approach when imbuing the skill. So, the information slowly gathered and formed the teaching program for imbuing the public speaking skill. Foremost, by a redefinition of the components and subcomponents of the skill. The public speaking skill includes three components. The content is essential for two reasons. First, it's the message. So it's very important to know what I'm going to speak about and what I want to say about it. Second, it's based on skills which are usually at a higher capability because it's very similar to the planning of a written text. This component includes the following subcomponents: an informed choice of the general subject as well as the specific information which will be presented during public speaking. Emphasis on the relations of content items to each other. Even if appropriate content items are selected, a logical order must be put together to display them, all the while ensuring the organization of content in a continuous and clear manner. In contrast to writing that is intended for reading by another person, here an adaptation for speaking is required, and this is what the second component is focusing on. The speaker must consider the length of time allotted to the public speech, relate to when and where it's going to be, and adjusting the content accordingly. Also, the speaker must consider the characteristics of the listeners so that the message will be suitable for them. The third component deals with the technique of public speaking. This component includes the subjects that must be emphasized when presenting a public speech. The technique component includes 6 subcomponents: voice, speech rate, volume, tone, pronunciation, linguistic integration, shift the look in a way that emphasizes what is being said, adjusting the body movement, walking, standing, leaning for the speaking purposes, projecting confidence and knowledgeability regarding the content, using hand gestures as a mean of illustrating and clarifying what is being said, and considering the enthusiasm of the audience regarding the content. The main issue with the components and subcomponents is being aware of them and making decisions on how best to implement the use. Research. During the research, we invited 6th grade pupils to participate in an annual course which included 1 lesson per week, about 30 lessons in total. The course was delivered twice with 63 pupils attending. 2 parallel classes served as control groups with 57 pupils in total. Several principles were exercised during the course. The exposure to the components and subcomponents of public speaking was gradual and cumulative, so that in each lesson we focused on one subcomponent that was added to previous subcomponents presented in earlier lessons, until the full construction of the skill was reached. The topics for the pupils' presentations were based on prior knowledge gained in other classes. The public speaking skill practice was carried out by planning and executing a 1-minute presentation. It is important to emphasize that the main objective the pupils were facing was to successfully communicate a message or an idea, thus keeping the public speaking as the means rather than the goal. Throughout the year, we assessed the overall public speaking skill quality of all participating pupils and those of the control group. For this purpose, we carried out observations that evaluated the overall level of public speaking and the degree of success in communicating the message, using a set of specific indicators based on the components and subcomponents of the skill. In addition, we use questionnaires in order to understand the pupils' level of self-confidence, their feeling about the extent to which their message was effectively communicated, as well as their perceptions of their public speaking capabilities. We also utilized in-depth interviews, for the same purposes. The data was collected before and during the annual course. After the initial course was completed, we repeated this method again and again and again and again to examine the stability of the level of public speaking skill acquired. Overall, data was collected for 7 years. And what did we find? Well, at the beginning of the course, the public speaking skill measured was at an average low level, about 45 to 50 points among the course participants in green and the control group in red. Not surprisingly, at the end of the annual course, the public speaking skill level was significantly higher among the course participants compared with the control group, as you can see. But what I found to be more intriguing is how long will this advantage be preserved, to understand how much the skill imbuing is worth the effort. And here I was astounded. After 2 years, the gap was almost completely preserved. Similar findings were obtained after 4 years as well. 4 years. Well, not quite. You see, the level of public speaking skill among some pupils from the control group suddenly rose sharply to a similar level of the pupils in the research group. At first, I was curious whether it's a result of frequent public speaking experiences, perhaps personal or social characteristics were involved. Well, I was disappointed to discover that this is not a special intervening variable, but rather the result of participating in a course for youth leaders provided within youth movement. In practice, participation in a course for improving their public speaking capability. Even when I returned 6 years after the completion of the course, the findings remained unchanged. In summary, the research findings indicate that the public speaking skill can be imbued, learned, and improved. If doing so, the skill will show stability over time. And if we will do nothing, there will be no natural improvement. Very important, very important. According to the findings, there is a great benefit in imbuing the skill by deliberate skill imbuing processes, rather than expecting that the skill will be gained only by practice. Dissolution of the skill to its components and subcomponents contributed to this pupil skill acquisition. After the teaching of the skill, practice and experiences within the course or by integrating them in other lessons contributed to the continuous improvement of the skill. And most importantly, well, encourage pupils to enjoy public speaking. Thank you very much for listening.